Okay, hello and welcome to today's YFP 101, which is going to be a product demo. So thank you so much for joining me today. Just getting the live stream rolling so that those who need to can join us on Facebook and make things just a wee bit easier. And we'll just get right into this. So today's training is Zoom. Is it right for your business? So in this training, we're going to talk about our Zoom Enterprise Plan, which is the video conferencing platform that we prefer. So in this class, you'll learn the benefits of Zoom, what you can do with it, how it works, what features are offered, and how to get started. This class is for you if you'd like to build your business using the internet, you want a better tool for communicating online, you want to see how Zoom works. So if any of those apply to you, then you are in the right place. A little bit about us and YFP. So your Freedom Project is a 360-degree ecosystem of tools and training that can help you find new builders, find new customers, and increase sales and retention. And YFP addresses the three specific areas that builders struggle with in Shackley, and that's not knowing where to go to find people to talk to, not knowing what to do with the people they find, and not having a formula or plan to stay on track and measure success. And your Freedom Project supports your growth in three main ways with tools, training, and support. Okay, so let's talk about the benefits of Zoom. So we personally have reviewed more than 20 different webinar platforms before we decided on Zoom, and we found that Zoom is hands down the best one for Shackley distributors. And so we've either reviewed or used Adobe Connect, AnyMeeting, ClickWebinar, Join.me, Meet FM, WebEx, Webinar Jam, and GoToWebinar. And I'm sure you've tried a few of these too. I know GoToWebinar was one that we used quite a bit in the early days of moving things online. And here's why we use Zoom. One, it's the most stable platform that we've been able to find. It's easy to get your attendees into for the most part. Sometimes you get a couple glitches, but we found it's the easiest one. It's reliable. It's easy to use as a host. It's pretty intuitive. And you can host events via a mobile device, whereas many won't offer a mobile option. It offers cloud recording. So Windows Media Player is not required. It'll record and host everything in the cloud. We've integrated it into our event manager. And honestly, hands down, it is the best price. So what can you do with Zoom? So Zoom is the next big thing to being, or the next best thing to being in person with someone. We use it a lot. You guys are always joining us here on Zoom, and it's kind of like we're in each other's living room sometimes. It's so much more personal when you have a group who can all talk and see each other. We've noticed this in webinar meetings, in our NWU, where everybody can come together and actually unmute and chat and interact. So this may sound a little unwieldy, but Zoom makes it easy to control all of this. So here's what you can do. You can do one-to-one meetings for coaching or for prospecting. You can have single or group meetings for personal training. You can use the meetings for demoing products. You can meet for little sip and samples. You can use the webinar presentation and present to large groups if you choose to. And then there's webinars for the sole purpose of streaming live to Facebook. Now, what's cool is they've done some updates and you can actually stream your meetings as well if you choose to. But the nice thing with webinar when you're streaming is it keeps everything isolated. It keeps it a little quieter and you don't have to manage muting if you're hosting an event, that type of thing. Now, you can also set up weekly events or single meetings. So depending on how you need to do it, if you have a reoccurring one, you can set up a reoccurring meeting. And once people have the code to jump into that meeting, you don't have to keep resending it. You can stream and record little explainer videos. So I do, when I do live streaming into Facebook, I use Zoom to do so. And I just find that it's a little bit easier to manage. The controls are easier to work with than the ones that Facebook offers. You can stream, save, and download your videos. And the cool thing about that is when you stream, save, and download your videos, you can post them into multiple areas. So if you're doing an explainer video or you're doing a webinar, that type of thing, Once you have it downloaded, then you can go and upload it into your group, into your fan page, into your profile, wherever else you would like to do it. And so and that's if you have a paid plan. So the free versions do not offer streaming. So just so you know, and it doesn't matter which paid plan you use, you can stream into Facebook, but you do need a paid plan. So let's talk about meeting versus webinar. So if you're not sure whether to use a meeting or a webinar, guess what? You're not alone. Lots of people aren't sure. Sometimes I'm not sure. So let's break it down. So a standard Zoom meeting is fully interactive and allows all participants the ability to see, speak, hear, and share screen with each other. So think of it, here's how I think of the meeting mode. Meeting mode is like a boardroom meeting. Everybody's around the table, everybody gets to contribute to what it is that is being discussed. So a meeting is designed more for collaboration and participation. So that's where you want people to be in and contributing to the conversation. Now, a webinar, on the other hand, is more controlled. It's a more controlled environment and is better for presenting. So with a webinar, only the host can be seen on camera or a panelist, and you have to be promoted to a panelist in order for that to happen. So how I think of a webinar is I think of this as like the TED Talk, right? You're standing on stage and you have everybody out in the audience, whereas the meeting mode is everyone's around the table, okay? So that's the way to think of it. So if you want to do more of a presentation, the webinar mode is the better way to go. The great thing about it too is then you don't have to worry about muting people if they forget to mute. And same thing with cameras, you don't have to worry about any camera mishaps. So let's talk about some of the features, okay? So when it comes to the features, so for a large meeting, it depends on the plan you have, but you can have up to, I think it's up to 100 on the lower paid one and up to 500 on a higher paid one. And then for webinar, you can have up to 50 video panelists and up to 1,000 attendees, okay? If you need more attendees, you can purchase that. It just gets a little pricey. For both webinars and meetings, you can have registration, which is awesome. So if you want people to register for a meeting, then you can capture information. You can do one-time or reoccurring events for both. It does designate a co-host to help manage the events, which is great. It's nice to have an extra person. And I do recommend if you're hosting meetings, have somebody who is your co-host that can handle, muting and unmuting if people are struggling, or helping to turn off cameras if cameras need to be turned off. Helping people get back in if they're struggling. It's always nice to have that sidekick. You have a green room for panelist prep, so which is a waiting room, okay? And waiting rooms are now on both. As we know, there's been some updates since Zoom has become so much more popular. They had to do some updates, so everything has a waiting room now. Option to mute all attendees upon entry. So for a meeting, yep, you can have it where everybody is automatically muted. The great thing about a webinar is all attendees are automatically muted and they can't be heard unless a host promotes them to a panelist. So you don't have to worry about that. You can mute and unmute individual or participants or all participants. So you can do that in a meeting. If you need to unmute everybody, you can. And it doesn't actually automatically unmute them anymore, because we know sometimes when you ask someone to unmute, they're not quite ready, but it'll prompt them to unmute themselves, okay? And for a webinar, again, it's automatic. Everybody is muted and they have to be promoted and to be able to be heard in a webinar. You can lock the mute and unmute. So for a webinar, again, that's automatic. For a meeting, you have that full control where you can make sure that nobody can unmute at all. You can turn off participant and attendee video. So in the meeting, you can control if somebody is on video or not. So if there's a lot of busy things going on and you know it's distracting, then you can help them out while they're dealing with whatever they need to deal with and turn off the video or turn it back on, or more ask them to turn it back on. And then again, for a webinar, it's automatic. So attendees can't be heard or seen unless you promote them. You can lock your screen share. So if you have it where your screen share is only for the host, then nobody else can share their screen. Sometimes that's really handy because we know sometimes people will start clicking around and accidentally share their screen. And we just want to make sure that their privacy is respected. And then of course, for webinar, attendees can't anyways because they're an attendee. You can put attendees on hold or remove them in both versions. You can do polling and facilitate organized discussions in both versions. You have video breakout rooms in meetings. You don't have them for webinars because webinars aren't designed for that. But for meetings, if you have a large group of people and you need 2 or 3 people to go and sort something out on their own, you can set up a breakout room where it sends them to a little room all by themselves where they can work out their thing. The main conversation can carry on and then they can come back once they're ready. And I think we've used breakout rooms a few times. There's group and one-on-one chat, which is really handy. So if you're just chatting between one person, you can actually do that in the chat. You don't have to broadcast everything to the whole crew. You can just have a private conversation one-to-one that no one else sees, but then you can also chat to everyone else. There's Q&A in the webinar version. I don't think there is in the meeting version. No, there is not because I'm in it. That's where the chat comes in, and the idea with a meeting anyways is that the conversation is open, so they can unmute and ask questions. There's no integration with a CRM or marketing automation tools as of yet, but you can get reports of registrants, attendees, and chat. You can also, depending on how things are being run, you can also get a transcript of everything that has been verbally said. Okay, so there's a lot of functionality with Zoom. So let's talk about the Zoom plan we recommend. And that is the Zoom Enterprise Plan. So with the Zoom Enterprise Plan, it's actually worth over $300 a month. The great thing is we've got a partnership with Zoom where we can get it to you for $39.99. And the Enterprise Plan gives you the absolute best feature set available from Zoom for the lowest cost. So normally you'd have to pay at least $55 a month just to get base features of the Zoom Enterprise Plan for things like streaming to Facebook. And then if you need anything extra, it's gonna rack it up really quickly. The other thing is they wouldn't give you any extra cloud recording services with that. So with the Zoom plan that we have, it's unlimited cloud recording. And honestly, that's where it pays for itself, because you never have to worry about running out of space. You're never going to get those emails saying, hey, you're almost out of space, you better start deleting things. Everything you record will stay in there, so you can always go back to it. And that in and of itself is worth its weight in gold. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just pop the link in. So if you're using Zoom already, maybe you have the lowest plan, which is I think $15 a month, then, and you want to look into this one, I'll pop the link in here for you all. It'll just take me one moment because it didn't load up properly. And then, and for those of you who maybe don't have Zoom or you're on a free plan and you're looking to upgrade and you want to utilize the Zoom Enterprise Plan, then you can do that as well. And honestly, it is the best bang for your buck when it comes to video conferencing. So I hope that has helped you a little bit anyways, get an understanding of what's available, what you can use, the difference between the webinar and the meeting mode. And that's that. So let's finish this off. So for those of you who are brand new to YFP, or maybe you've been on a few things, but you haven't tried anything yet, and you're curious on how you can get started, there's a couple ways to do that. So the first way is that you can subscribe. So if you already know you want to use YFP, you can choose a plan that fits your marketing needs. You can select any add-ons that you want, and then book an onboarding appointment. You can do that by going to yourfreedomproject.com/pricing. If you'd like to take a free test drive, you could do that by signing up for a fully functional 30-day trial. Start trying out the system and then book a support appointment. And you can do that by going to yourfreedomproject.com/trial. Or if you would like to have a more guided tour where you can ask questions in real time from one of our expert coaches, then you can visit our help center and request a guided tour. And from there, you can also join our YFP Facebook group for business builders. And I'll show you where to find that button here in just a second. And you can do that by going to yourfreedomproject.com/support. If you're curious about any of our other products or services, you can visit our products page, going to yourfreedomproject.com/shop. And then in the help center, one second here, let me get my pen. Boom. There we go. So there's multiple ways that you can get in touch with us on the help center page. This is where you can join the Facebook group, by the way. And if you need to give us a call, we have our phone number up at the top. If you're having any technical issues and you need assistance, you can submit a ticket. You can also view any of your tickets and see the conversation back and forth from our tech support. If you're needing to book an appointment, that's where you can use the book appointment tab. And then if you just want to have a quick question and chat in real time with one of the elves, you can use our chat function and it will connect you to our elves Facebook Messenger. So you will need Messenger for that. Okay. So with that, and to get to the Help Center again, it's going to yourfreedomproject.com/support. So I want to thank you so much for joining me for this demo, and I hope you're feeling empowered to take your Shaklee business more online.